See, both. I mean, there's no question that law is looked upon as a very established career track, right? It is global. Anywhere in the civilized world, there is a need for qualified lawyers. It Whether it's in the court system, whether it is in corporate, whether it is in politics, whether it's in environmental sciences, everywhere we run by law. So it's quite an established fact that law is, an acceptable and lucrative career prospect. When it comes to music, a lot of people think it's fun first and it's hobby first, and then comes the career side of it. It's interesting if you think about it, because we all listen to music every day, right? And we listen to really high quality music. And if there was no money behind it, there was no career prospect behind it, nobody would spend time creating this high quality music. And none of us would be having the privilege of listening to good music if people were not finding it worthwhile to actually create music, right? So the only gap over there is it is probably less known to the wider masses as to what are the prospects of this. Now, the combination is very interesting, right? Because usually people think that if you actually take up a career in law, you will either end up in the court or you will end up in the corporate world going through, the thicket of contracts and agreements and cases. Whereas there is a lot to do with entertainment law, because one of the key factors of entertainment is what my colleague Uma would agree is called intellectual property, right? IP. So IP is in fact the biggest value creation aspect of creating anything new. Now, IP is not just related to entertainment, right? It's also related to software. It's related to writing a book. So IP is quite big. And of course, people get paid for creating art forms, whether it is a movie, whether it is a piece of music, whether it is a drawing, painting. And there are different ways to monetize this art form. So for example, a piece of music is not just monetized once, right? Like I can write a piece of music. It can be sold as a music directly to a bunch of consumers. It can actually be synchronized with a visual element like a film or video game, and I can get money out of that. Sometime later, another artist could do a remix of my music, which becomes another monetization channel. If you were to dig deeper, you will find that a lot of hit songs that you know of an artist is probably not written by that artist. It is by some other artist from the 60s or 70s, which was taken and reproduced for the current artist, right? So then there is also a money aspect over there. So law and entertainment is kind of intertwined. You cannot run an entertainment business without solid legal backing, right? Because that's a given. I cannot make a movie without a proper legal consultancy and advice. I cannot record a piece of music and monetize it without being exploited, without a proper legal backing, right? I cannot run a company like Spotify or YouTube and put content over there without a legal framework. So when you start to think about it, then you slowly start seeing that this industry requires a lot of help from lawyers who really understands the concept of this art form. Because when I create a piece of music, I'll stop by saying this. When I create a piece of music, it involves many elements of it, right? I will go straight to the music, because when I create a piece of music, there is the lyrical part of it. If it is a song, that could be owned by someone else. Someone else wrote the lyrics. Someone else could actually create the music for it, right? A third person could sing it, and a fourth company probably could market that piece of music. Now the question is, who owns what, right? So the more you understand that, then you actually become a very sought after piece of professional expertise in the industry. I always tell students that you can be a part of the music business without being a musician, but if you're really interested in it, and this could be one of the best ways to do it, to become a legal expert in the entertainment field and be associated with it and have a really cool career.
I can't agree more on what you said. I think the very fact that we are asking this question, this question itself is a rhetoric now. I think this would have been, it would have sounded good, great, had we asked this question, a decade back. And I want to tell students, sometime when we did law, we only used to see law as a single stream or single discipline, and we never thought of a combination like this. And while I went for my masters abroad, that's where I could see Cambridge was offering this courses. I think it's almost 30, 40 years now. They offer a program on music and law. And I was astonished to ask them this question. I said, what do they teach in this paper? How does it help? How do you integrate these two areas or disciplines of study? And it was very interesting for me to know. And when I finished my law, and when I finished all these courses, I could probably understand the nexus between music and law. Law is all pervading and omnipresent, right? It's a big monster which everybody has to necessarily deal with. So now, once we see who are the stakeholders here, as we pointed out, they're going to be composers, they're going to be, performers, they're going to be broadcasting of the music, they're going to be licensing. There are many aspects to music. And now, in all these aspects, it has to be legally carried out. It needs to be, through some form of contracts. There are many parties involved in it. So invariably, though it's not essentially law, but music cannot be successfully launched and taken to the masses without application of law in it.
Any subject is equally or comparably challenging, like whether you're studying medicine or whether you're studying law or whether you're studying to become a chef, right? The subject area challenges you. You can be a chef who cooks only like, poha and another dish and survive, and you can be a chef who actually transforms the entire culinary palette because you actually have studied it in depth. And I think um, one point that I want to stress is about creativity, right? And problem solving, because that a lot of work in the future would be banking on creativity. Um, and that is something that you still cannot replace using automation AI. Recently, I saw a statement from the law minister saying that they are progressively introducing AI into the legal system, and that is going to clear a lot of pending cases, right? Where the decision making is pretty straightforward, but it's sheer workload that is keeping it pending. But imagine that in future, a lot of legal jobs or legal careers would expect you to be extremely creative. Whether you are actually negotiating a takeover, or whether you're negotiating a merger, or whether you're actually working with a lot of new startups to create a new ecosystem and create a framework. How do you set up a legal framework for something that has not existed before, right? And then you need to actually be very inventive and creative. So I think one of the advantage of studying something like this as a combination is probably because you can learn the frameworks, and you can also polish and practice your creativity. Entertainment law is the first thing that comes to my mind, right? Specializing in IP and entertainment. So it is not just about intellectual property, it is also about contracts and agreements and revenue maximization, monetization. So that's definitely one of the aspects. You could either practice as a entertainment lawyer, who actually provide entertainment or IP law services to different entities like artists, production companies, or radio stations and things like that. You could do that. You could work in companies like Sony Music, or Spotify, or YouTube, or Facebook, or anyone who deals with content, because they have to have an in-house counsel, because there are like hundreds of thousands of contracts being created on a daily basis for content creation. So most of these companies that deal with content, they all have in-house counsels and legal teams. who literally look after this. Now imagine, even if somebody is going on a concert tour, right? Let's say Air Rahman is going to go play in multiple countries. Just think about the amount of legal tangles they have to sort, right? Right from how loud you can play in a venue, to who all needs to be paid, to the terms and conditions of the ticket purchase, to um, there are tons of it happening on that side as well. So I think that's where you will find most of your job opportunities. Um, of course, you will go to court at some point of time, because there will be a legal tussle between two entities saying that you either stole my music or you use my music without paying anything for it. So, but I would imagine the majority of your career will be spent in the corporate side than actual legal practice in the court. Literally helping to build artists and companies. I think that's where it is going to be mostly.
Yeah. I quite agree with the areas that he said, but I just want to add in few information. I think one foremost information that students have to understand is this career in music and law is global, right? Because most areas, for example, if you practice something like criminal law, you know what happens is you are restricted to a domestic jurisdiction, because you can't practice transnational. But once you have something like music and law, and you're looking at careers here, your avenues open not just domestically but internationally. I think that's a good question, and one thing we'll have to understand is every course comes with a responsibility, and I think uh, the kind of length and breadth of courses that we've got to offer, I think it's quite interesting, especially the pathways and the super specialization that students can opt. I would only say this, you know, curating your own course is nothing but it amounts to curating your own career, right? So the kind of specialization, because most universities look at these subjects very superficially in the name of specializations, but the kind of majors and minors that we have drafted, the pathways that students get to learn is immense. For example, I was just discussing with music school. I have their pathways and I was looking at it. Students just don't choose, like law students don't choose a major or a minor in music, but within music, they also have a super specialization, something like music production. So what I'm trying to say. You have a super specialization. Apart from music, within music, you look into some minute aspects. I think that niche is these specializations.
Yeah, I mean, I like the flexibility that is available at the university, right? Because you could choose to get two full dual degrees if you are ready to take that load. You could take law as your major area of study, and then you could still do a major in music if you wanted to. And like what Umar said, you could do a super specialization in music, not just any music. Or you could study music as your major and then take a law major component. That so it all depends on where your leanings are, right? If you want to practice as a licensed lawyer, there's no question you need to complete your law degree, right? And you have to get your practice credentials. But if you're thinking, okay, I don't want to be a practicing lawyer, but I want to be able to run a business where I can actually, you know, commission an actual lawyer to do my actual business, but then I have enough knowledge to kind of engage in that business and set up things, then you could go in that direction. So the flexibilities are great. A student can pick and choose the track they want to create and literally decide what kind of a degree they want to end up with after 3, 4, or 5 years. Typically, a major is about 30 credits, right? So you need to complete 30 credits of a focused list of courses in order to get a major in any subject. Now, that is determined by the respective school. For example, if you go to the business school, they'll actually have a certain set of courses if you want to get a major in finance or marketing or something like that. The same way, if you go to law, you would probably find, I'll let Uma comment on it. If you come to the music school, you can do a major in music as a general major, and you can do about 9 different minors You can do a minor in music production. You can do a minor in music performance. And when you say minor in music performance, you can choose 5 instruments, one out of the 5 instruments: guitar, vocals, drums, bass, and keyboards. You can do a minor in sound engineering. You can do a minor in music business. You can do a minor. So there are about 9 different minor combinations available, and each minor is anywhere from 10 to 15 credits, right? Minimum you need to complete to get a minor is 10, and depending on the school, I mean, most of our minors, music, since it's a practice-based course, credit values are slightly higher, so it's about anywhere from 10 to 15 credits is what you will find as a music minor course, right? So that is how the general architecture is. So a major is 30 credits, a minor is 10 credits, and depending on the school, you get these different options to pick. So now the important thing to keep in mind is what is a dual major, what is a dual degree, and what is a major and a minor, right? So a dual major is when you have the same degree award, but you have 2 majors. For example, students who come to the music school can actually do a Bachelor of Music, BMUS, which is the award, and you can do a major in music production and a major in music performance. So that's a dual major. But if you're getting a BBA LLB and a BMUS, that's a dual degree, because you have to satisfy the entire requirements for getting 2 full awards, right? It's a bit more challenging.
As regards students in law, you would have this confusion. What is this majors and minors? So now we have two pathways, two specializations that you can choose. One is your professional majors and minors. That is where you can choose additional papers in law. So, you can specialize in a particular area in law. For example, students who are doing law want to specialize in international law, or they want to specialize in law and technology. You want to look at papers of constitutional law. So you choose additional papers only in these areas and then specialize. That we call it as professional majors or minors. And for that, you have, as Nilesh rightly pointed out, the credits are the numbers that you'll have to satisfy us on. So 30 credits for a major and a 10 credit for a minor. But what Vijaybhoomi does is it's not just major or minors in their own respective fields, but you can also choose from other disciplines. So student who's doing law can take a major or a minor. That we call it as non-professional major minors. You can take from music, design, management school, or from School of Engineering. So you can take from any of these disciplines, and you can take 30 credits from there if you want to do a majors, or 10 credits if you want to do a minors.